Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss I Heart Huckabees, starring Jason Schwartzman, Mark Wahlberg, Jude Law, Lily Tomlin, Dustin Hoffman, Isabel Huppert, and Naomi Watts, directed by David O. Russell. Now, this is the movie that started well, maybe Flirting with Disaster did, but this is the first movie I've heard about where David O. Russell became the bully director. And it was all thanks to Lily Tomlin. I'll explain why when I get to the review, but my God, there was some videos going around that's saying that she was pissed at David O. Russell because he was making her angry, and then Dustin Hoffman chose to be on not her side, his side of the story, and she said, Lily Tomlin said after filming this movie that she would work with him again, which I don't believe that. Come on, that's bullshit, and you and I know it. So let's get into this movie and you'll see what I'm talking about. The movie opens with environmentalist named Albert Markovsky, played by Jason Schwartzman, doing a voiceover with a little too much cussing, and faces a crowd and saves a marsh, or is the area that he owns, and suddenly reads a poem, which was rather fucking random, as a lot of this movie is random. Albert rides his bicycle to an office of Vivian, played by Lily Tomlin, and Bernard Jaffe. Yes, they're married, played by Dustin Hoffman, and they didn't come off believable as a married couple and professionals, in my opinion, in this movie. Because, like I brought up before, Lily Tomlin and director David O. Russell were yelling and cussing at each other as Dustin Hoffman took the side of the director, as things got really fucking ugly while filming this movie, and I get the impression they'll never work together ever again, even though Lily Tomlin says that, but I still find that bullshit. Come on. But anyways, he asks Vivian and Bernard to take a coincidental case of Albert's about a tall African man whom we'll get his name later in the film. It's not important right now. As Vivian spies on his life and Bernard assists him, and he feels like a psychiatrist, where he thinks about his painful memories in order to relax, and this plot goes absolutely nowhere. While in a body bag, let me rephrase that, Albert thinks about the painful things in his life, like his meeting with Huckabees owner Brad Stan, played by Jude Law, and I get the impression there was a lot of trouble between director David O. Russell and some of the cast and crew, and the movie's dialogue shows it right out the fucking bat. While Vivian is following Albert, and while he's at his hectic job, Bernard comes in to have Albert keep up with his details. He gets a call from Tommy Korn, played by Mark Wahlberg, as his wife divorces him. And this is another dark comedy that I'm unfortunately not laughing at, as director David O. Russell is not the best at making jokes, in my opinion, for a dark comedy. And like I said with Flirting with Disaster, he's no Wes Anderson. Vivian follows an employee at Huckabees, and so does Katerin Valbin. I don't know if I'm saying that right, played by Isabel Huppert. And how the fuck does she not notice as Vivian goes in the building, she lies to a Huckabees employee about having an appointment with Brad, and she gets away in to get in Brad's office. And this script is all over the place to this point. Like, Brad wants to take over the space Albert owns, and it is a mess. Like, I don't care for these characters, and it's a shame, as I wish I could connect with one of them, at least Mark Wahlberg's character. But he comes out very unlikable. But the worst character in this movie is Brad, aka Jude Law's character. And honestly, I thought it was going to be Lily Tomlin's character because of the outburst between Tomlin and David O. Russell. But nope, it's Jude Law. Bernard imagines Brad all over the place, or Albert does, I'll say, even in the body bag. And next thing you know, we see Brad in the office of Bernard and Albert outbursting as Brad and Albert outbursts as Brad ruined his life when the movie started, and that was painfully acted, as the acting in this movie is fucking painful. Vivian takes Albert to meet Tommy as they get along right in the first moment on screen together. And did these actors read the script? Because it doesn't look like it, as they didn't rehearse the dialogue. Albert, Tommy are at a, Albert and Tommy, are at a party with Vivian, Bernard, Brad, and his girlfriend, aka the face of Huckabees, named Dawn Campbell, played by Naomi Watts, as Tommy wants to fight Brad to create a distraction for Albert to see his coincidence file. And he gets caught, and he and Tommy walk out and ride their bicycles together and go to the house of the African man whose name is Stephen and has a brother and a sister. And the brother I recognized as Jonah Hill before I ever first knew him in Superbad. Or even though he did have brief roles after this movie with the 40-year-old virgin and Knocked Up, but Albert tries to ask Stephen about why autographs are important, was their meaning a coincidence? And it turns out it meant nothing. Now, I'm getting pissed off because this is a piece of dialogue as well as this part of the movie, for example. As Albert and Tommy go to Huckabees to take over the meeting, and the employees come off as a bunch of assholes, including the main characters. And they listen to Brad more than Albert and Tommy, and they want Brad as the leader of the space Albert owns, and that scene was absolutely fucking painful to watch. Katerin follows Albert and Tommy, and so does Vivian and Bernard, as we learn they lied up to Albert and Tommy and ditches them and bumps into Katerin as she picks up both Albert and Tommy on their bicycles. And this movie has problems. Like, the acting is terrible. The movie is hard to watch at times with this painful, painful dialogue. And it looks like they didn't rehearse the script at all. Albert and Katerin goes to his parents' apartment to talk with his parents about his journal from back when he was 9 years old and tells them off, with Stephen coming in with a note that says Albert was an orphan. I didn't understand what the fuck was going on with that, as well as this movie, and I'm starting to get really annoyed with this movie right off the fucking bat. Albert and Tommy stick with Katerin, while Vivian and Bernard work with Brad as they go to his front yard and make a mess out of the trash can, and Dawn spots them doing so as they talk with Brad and Dawn, while Brad makes issues with Dawn and with Vivian. And Bernard, as this scene was annoying, as Naomi Watts came off very annoying in this movie, and I do like her as an actress, but she bugged me for the whole movie. Katerin does therapy exercises with Albert and Tommy, and she flirts with Albert by putting her foot on Albert's dick, like she wants to fuck him. And they go off fucking each other. And can I just say, this movie is bad by all means? Brad calls Dawn ugly as she's wearing overalls and tells her how to dress like a Huckabees model, and tells her not to go to work, which comes off selfish and foolish. Dawn comes in and meets Heather, who's played briefly by Isla Fisher, aka Borat's wife. And as Dawn pissed off at Brad, yes, to this point, she calls Huckabees Fuckabees, which was a little humorous, and that is the only compliment I'll give this movie at this point. Brad gets promoted and gets Dawn away from Huckabees for a day, while Tommy firefights, and Albert wakes up in bed next to Katerin, and Tommy comes in very upset with Albert, Tommy accepts his loneliness as Brad tries to get rid of Vivian and Bernard, and they blackmail Brad, and involves his family, including his younger brother who loves geckos that Brad is ashamed of, which is a ridiculous scene as Brad comes off like a selfish bastard to not only Albert, Dawn, Vivian, and now Bernard, and now his younger brother. And Jude Law is a much better actor than this movie is giving him, which is a douchebag character. Brad has a board of directors meeting as he doesn't tell the story he told other people earlier in the film, as he vomits, and this is going to be the most embarrassing role Jude Law is, because I said he's a better actor than this. Tommy goes to a place to put out a fire, and that place happens to be Brad and Dawn's house. And as the smoke is gone, the house is sort of burnt, and Dawn, who was home at the time, is alive, thanks to Tommy, which is some miracle, and she kisses him, and I'm calling barf. I mean, I'm not really barfing, not the kissing part, but because Albert and Katerine see Brad's house is on the fire as he cries, and it serves him right because as Katerine takes a picture of Brad crying, and Albert imagines him in the photo, and he takes off in his car, and Albert goes to the Huckabees building, while Brad leaves his car because he's stuck in traffic, and they arrive at a building at the same time, and both go on the 10th floor. Brad passes by Heather, and we see Albert, Brad, Tommy, and Don in the building together, and Albert and Brad go in the elevator together as everyone hates Brad now, and goes back to Albert being the owner of the area he owned and from the start of this movie at the building, as that felt out of the blue, and the climax was out of the blue. As the end of the day, I didn't like this climax as well as this movie, but I do heart my mom that made me watch this movie. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 3.8 out of 10. This movie is absolutely fucking painful to watch, as the acting wasn't rehearsed very well, as these characters come off very unlikable. The characters come off like assholes, and I just don't like them, nor do I get what the fuck is going on at an hour into the movie, and it works terribly. The movie was terrible at the acting was painful, and it was creating more issues than solving any out of the blue. And this ending was completely out of the blue. I recommend, if you've never seen this, continue to do so. This movie is pretty bad. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and next time I will be back with The Fighter. And until then, I don't heart this movie, but I heart you guys.